Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Lehman from Math with Mrs. Lehman. Today we're going to be looking at Lesson 7, which is writing associated ratios and multiplicative comparison statements, which sounds kind of difficult, but it's actually pretty easy. But before we go through that, what we are doing is looking through the homework from yesterday, which was on page 12. So I'm actually going to go through this. Currently there are no students in my classroom, so I'm going to go at a quicker pace. I am going to try to highlight the key things in case you missed class or you're confused. So it says, the Speedy Fast Ski Resort has started to keep track of the number of skiers and snowboarders who bought season passes. The ratio of the number of skiers who bought season passes to the number of snowboarders who bought season passes is 1 to 2. So one thing that I noticed when I was checking homework today is that a lot of kids did not underline key things. So they give you the ratio of the number of skiers to the number of snowboarders and told you that that ratio is 1 to 2. So that's very important info. Make sure you're underlining that stuff. It says if 1,250 more snowboarders bought season passes than skiers, how many snowboarders and how many skiers bought season passes? So we know there are 1,250 more. That word more right here is super important because, well, I'll explain that in a minute. A lot of people were putting that info in the wrong place, and therefore a lot of the math calculations they did didn't work out the way they needed to. So we know that skiers was 1 and snowboarders had 2, right? So the ratio is 1 to 2. I got that right here, okay? 1 to 2. And it says if 1,250 more snowboarders bought season passes, we then use that to figure out how many snowboarders and how many skiers there were. So this amount of skiers and this amount of snowboarders is the exact same amount. So when the question says more, what you need to do then is look at anything that is above and beyond, anything that is over that amount that has an equal match for the other category. So the skiers has a certain amount, the snowboarders has that same amount plus some more. Now, a lot of people were initially putting that like this and saying 1,250. You would put it there if it said that there were a total of 1,250 total snowboarders and skiers all together. But because of the wording of this, when it uses the word more, it would just go right where I drew that little arch, and you would label it there. Now, in this case, it's only 1 unit. So, if it were multiple units, you would divide by however many units were in that more section, okay? But because this is only 1 unit more, we know that 1,250 divided by 1 is 1,250. The key to finding the answer with these tape diagram questions is finding the value of 1 unit. So in this case, we already found the value of 1 unit. We then find the value of every unit because it's all the same amount for every single unit. So after you do that, you plug those numbers in and you can answer the question, in this case, how many skiers? So we know there's only 1 unit there. There are 1,250 skiers. And when you add 1,250 plus another 1,250, you get 2,500. And that is the number of snowboarders. All right. That one was not very complicated, but a lot of kids overthought it and made goofy mistakes because they put that 1,250 in the wrong spot. This next example is the ratio of adults to students at the prom, and that ratio has to be 1 to 10. Last year there were 477 more. That is Again, a very key word here because that tells us what to do with that 477. It says if the school is expecting the same attendance, how many adults have to attend? So you would draw out your tape diagram. So it was adults to students, and that was 1 to 10. And I just like to double check the boxes that I have the right amount. Good. Okay, so it says 477 more. It does not say that altogether there were 477 people. It doesn't say that there were 477 students. It says that the section that is more, so that's 9 of these units. That's where the 477 goes. So we know 477 is represented by 9 units. So you divide 477 by 9, and then you would get 53 for each unit. So every box here is a unit, and they are all worth the same amount. So put that in all the boxes. You would then figure out that there were 53 adults. Said, so how many adults have to attend the prom? There needs to be 53 adults. All right. So again, the major problems I'm seeing when I'm looking at the homework from students is they are not reading carefully, not underlining keywords, and then they're putting the numbers in the wrong spots, okay? So one step at a time, make sure you draw the tape diagram of the ratio you're given, make sure you label those tape diagrams, make sure you pay attention to that other quantity that they give you, and you need to figure out, does that represent all of the units? Does that only represent a portion of the units? And then go from there. And then your goal is to figure out the value of 1 unit, and once you figure that out, through the process of division, you then can apply that to all of the units and figure out whatever the question's asking you. In this case, it was pretty easy because the adults was just a 1 unit thing, so we didn't have to multiply it by multiple units. It's just 53. There needs to be 53 adults at the prom. All right, thank you. I'm going to pause this video, get the kids in here, and then I will start it back up a little later, but for you, I guess it'll be 2 seconds. All right, we are back. Now I have my 6th period class in here. Please say hello, everybody. Hello. So it says Lesson 7, Associated Ratios and the Value of a Ratio. So we talked earlier, one of the first few days of school, about the 3 different forms of ratios, right? And we can write ratios with the word to in between the 2 quantities. We can write ratios with the colon. We call that ratio form. And then there was a 3rd way to write a ratio. What was that? I'm coming over to Brianna. What was our 3rd form?
You had whatever 2 numbers you had. Say you had 2 and 1. You would put 2, the word 2, and then 1.
Okay, so you're describing the word form again. So we have the word form, the ratio form. Do you remember the other form that I haven't mentioned yet? What is it? Say it loud in there.
The fraction form.
Very good, Brianna. So the fraction form. So when we talk about the value of a ratio and the associated ratios, it's taking us to that again, except for we're changing the wording a little bit. It says, which of the following correctly models that the number of red gumballs is 5 to 3? I'm sorry, is 5/3 is how you'd read that. The number of white gumballs. Let's read that again. Which of the following correctly models that the number of red gumballs is 5/3 the number of white gumballs? Who here can tell me what they think? First of all, look at all the different ratios they've got going on and the units for each. Which one of those make sense? Aiden. B? Who Who here agrees with choice B? All right, nice job. The entire class raised their hand. Good job. So, red to white is 5-3. How did Aiden know that it was B? Who can elaborate on that for me? Cam, you want to give it a go?
It said that the red gumballs were 5 and that the the white gumballs were 3.
Very good. Yeah, we've been paying attention to that order for a long time, right? So we've got red and then white. So we know that this 5 goes with the red and the 3 goes with the white. And that would be represented, as Aiden said, by choice B. All right, so example 2, it's talking about 2 films, and the duration means how long these films are. It says the duration of 2 films are modeled below. Film A and film B. Which film is longer? Which is a longer film, Michael?
Film B.
Very good. All right. Film A, would you say it's half the length of film B or longer than half the length of film B? Riley?
Longer.
Longer than half? Yeah, it's still less, but it's more than half of it, right? So, let's see. It says the ratio of the length of film A to the length of film B is blank to blank. So they want us to give ratio form there. Film A to B. Who can give me that answer?
5-7.
Very good, Jordan. So 5-7. Why did you put 5, or why did you say 5 first?
Because film A is 5 and film A is first.
Very good. It was listed first. The length of film A is blank of the length of film B. So these are called something special, but we say these kinds of things a lot more than you realize, and nobody ever calls them what they're called in math and everyday life. They are called multiplicative comparison statements. And all that means is they're comparing the 2 quantities and saying it's a certain amount of the other one. So the length of film A is blank the length of film B. So how would I write that as a fraction in there? Brianna?
You write 5/7.
Would write 5/7. Nice job. So film A is 5/7, the length of film B. Now, the question that I was going to ask you is 5/7, is that number greater or less than 1? A fraction that's 5 out of 7, is that greater or less than 1?
Less than 1.
Very good. So less than 1. Notice film A is not the whole length of film B, right? It's less than that amount. Please enjoy the background construction noises that we have going on. That's extra fun. The length of film B is blank the length of film A. So now we're going to flip the order. What do you think, Nadia?
7/5.
Very good, 7/5. And we know that 7/5 is what type of fraction?
An improper fraction.
Very good. So an improper fraction has a value that is greater or less than 1.
Greater.
Very good. Greater. Please hold for the fire drill. So we just got back from our fire drill. So the kids have left. This is a quick recap of the lesson. So it says the ratio of the length of film A to the length of film B is 5-7. And we talked about how the length of film A is 5/7 the length of film B. It is less than the whole amount of B. So that is why that value is less than 1. The length of film B is 7/5 the length of film A. It's greater than the value of 1. Next page. It says Sammy and Caden went fishing using live shrimp as bait. Sammy brought 8 more shrimp than Caden brought. When they combined their shrimp, they had 32 shrimp altogether. So I'm telling the kids to read each question twice so they can pick out all the key info and to really make sure they understand what the question is asking. It says Sammy and Caden went fishing using live shrimp as bait. Sammy brought 8 more shrimp than Caden. So Sammy brought more. When they combined their shrimp all together, they had 32 shrimp. So it says how many shrimp did each boy bring? So we know Sammy brought some, and we know Caden brought some, and we know that let's say Sammy has this bucket of shrimp, Caden had this bucket of shrimp, right? So that amount they had the same, but we also know that Sammy brought 8 more. So it's whatever Caden brought down here, plus an additional 8 shrimp. So the other piece of info that we needed to know here is that altogether, these shrimp added up to a total of 32. So written as a more horizontal oriented example, you would have, let's say, Sammy's shrimp, Caden's shrimp, plus that extra 8 that Sammy brought, and we know that adds up to a total of 32. So then what you want to do is figure out the value of each of those boxes, and we got to get rid of that plus 8 first. So we're going to subtract the 8 that that Sammy brought extra. Subtract and you get 24. And we know that this bucket and this bucket altogether equals 24, and it's the same amount in each. So 24 divided by 2 would mean that each of these buckets have 12 shrimp in them. So that's a little intro to some of the stuff we'll be doing later, but let's read the next problem. It says, what is the ratio of the number of shrimp Sammy brought to the number Caden brought? So they want a ratio of Sammy, which was, if you take the 12 plus the 8, we know that he brought 20, and Caden just brought the 12. Express the number of shrimp Sammy brought as a fraction of the number Caden brought. So that would mean that Sammy brought 20 twelfths of what Caden brought. What is the ratio of the number of shrimp Sammy brought to the total number of shrimp? So Sammy brought 20, and the total, if you look at the bucket with 20 and the bucket with 12, add those together, you would get 32 shrimp. Now, in your homework, you're going to be asked to find the value of the ratio. So to find the value of the ratio, you need to simplify that fraction. So they're using 20/30 seconds. We could also simplify that down. If we divide both the top and bottom by 4, that would give you 5/8. So you could also say that Sammy brought 5/8 of the total shrimp. He brought over half of the shrimp. 5/8 would be the simplified value of the ratio. And then part E says, what fraction of the total shrimp did Sammy bring? All right, so, they wanted this one up here, I'm sorry, as a ratio, so 20/32. They wanted it in this form, I should say. Or if we simplified that, that would be 5/8. So down here, they want it written as a fraction, so 20/30 seconds, or 5/8. Okay? The homework that was assigned for this evening was the Lesson 7 exit ticket, which is associated ratios and the value of a ratio. So it says Alyssa's extended family is staying at the lake house this weekend for a family reunion. She is in charge of making homemade pancakes for the entire group. The pancake mix requires 2 cups of flour for every 10 pancakes. So if you have 2 cups of flour, you get 10 pancakes. Write a ratio to show the relationship between the number of cups of flour and the number of pancakes. So when you write that ratio, it is looking for cups of flour first, and then the pancakes you can make with that. and then the value of the ratio, you're going to want to write that same ratio as a fraction, and then you want to simplify it. Put it in lowest terms. Okay? So you're going to get a fraction here, and then you are going to simplify that down. Down here on number 27, it says use the value of the ratio to fill in the following two multiplicative comparison statements. So you're just using that simplified value to tell you what fraction it would be. So the number of pancakes made is blank times the amount of flour needed. So if you're talking about pancakes to flour. So pancakes again is going to go up here, and the flour is going to go in this box. The amount of cups of flour needed, so it wants flour to the number of pancakes. So you're going to write flour there, pancakes there, and then it says if Alyssa has to make a total of 70 pancakes, how many cups of flour will she have to use? All right. All right. So that was the homework for this weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for watching my video. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Bye, guys. Everyone say bye. Bye.